On to Syria now, where the evacuation of people out of eastern Aleppo continues. A rebel group is saying that thousands are still trapped inside the eastern part of the city, waiting to be taken out. Well, buses continued evacuating people from rebel-held areas on Wednesday. Many were forced to wait for days in freezing temperatures as the evacuation stalled. Well, our correspondent Ediz Tiyansan is following the evacuation. He says the last convoy is expected to leave the city soon, and once it does, the fighting could resume.
Evacuations out of the besieged eastern Aleppo continued on Thursday. Our sources on the ground are saying that still a few thousand people are left in that enclave, including the rebels on the ground. Now, they too will be coming out with what looks like the final convoy out of that enclave, which is composed of around 25 buses, each carrying some 75 people, as well as private cars. Now, those that are left behind, at this point, they can take also their private cars to be part of this last convoy and get out of that enclave. They tell us that by the end of today, or possibly Friday, could be the very last day for these evacuations. And once it comes to an end, so will the ceasefire. And they say that the fighting on the ground will resume between the regime forces and the opposition, but this time on different front lines. And with the influx of so many civilians, we're talking about anywhere from 40 to 50,000 civilians, mostly arriving into here in the Idlib province. They need accommodation. Yes, now they do have access to regular humanitarian aid and basic necessities like food and medical supplies, but what many lack is still a new home, and that's why Turkish humanitarian agencies are working really hard in order to set up new refugee camps. Earlier this week we reported from a new camp called Kamune, which will have about 10,000 tents, each one for one family. But also they are working on a new refugee camp now, a much larger one called Kalbit. And that's going to be some 600 dunams, and it will accommodate around 35,000 people. But until that happens, many people are using different homes shared by different families. And remember that it is really critical that they move into their new places as soon as possible, because with the fighting resuming on the ground, so will the airstrikes.